Hey folks, Graham Pettis here. Thanks for tuning in. So today I wanted to talk about a subject. It's Job chapter 41. It talks about a creature called Leviathan. And it was kind of weird. I was going through a bunch of different articles online, and some stuff was saying it was an alligator, a crocodile, a whale, and there's a pretty vast amount of evidence saying that it's a dinosaur. So I thought we would just kind of go through some slides through here real quick, and we can kind of figure out what this thing is. So starting out, you know the story of Job. He's having a really difficult time with his life. And then finally, in Job chapter 38, that's when God kind of reveals himself and talks to Job. And then for the next 4 chapters, God declares his omnipotence, his power. And starting in chapter 41, he talks about a creature named Leviathan. And I think a lot of people, the reason they struggle with this is, even as Christians, we're taught about evolution at a very young age. And I don't think creationists and a lot of Christians have done a good job just kind of defending that. I believe the earth is 6,000 years old. I think God created all the animals on day 5 and 6, really just what the Bible talks about. So I think a lot of people struggle with the dinosaur aspect because a lot of people think it's the millions of years old. But even my nephew, he had a Bible, and it says right in there that this creature is an alligator, which I thought was just kind of strange. But we're going to go through here. You let me know what you think. I think it's some type of dinosaur. So let's start with verse number 1, and this is going to be the King James Version. I really like this type of Bible the best. So it says, "Canst thou draw out Leviathan with an hook, or his tongue with a cord which thou lettest down?" This would be kind of a funny analogy. I don't know if you guys remember the crocodile hunter back in the day. Some of you might be too young, but this guy used to go through and he used to catch these alligators all the time. He'd basically take a rope, slip it under its jaw, and he could pull down its tongue. It would close its mouth, and then they could catch it. So this right here tells you that Leviathan can't be drawn out this way with a fish hook or the bottom of its jaw caught. Verse number 2, "Canst thou put an hook into his nose, or bore his jaw with a thorn?" In this case, a thorn is just a tree or shrub armed with spines. The word sometimes applied to a bush with prickles. So just some kind of solid piece of wood with some sharp spikes in it. And I guess back in a long time ago, thousands of years ago, this is probably how they caught fish or some type of creatures. "Will he make many supplications unto thee? Will he speak soft words unto thee?" Supplication is just the action of asking or begging for something earnestly or humbly. So this is the kind of creature that if you try to go after this thing, it's not going to beg its way through. "Will he make a covenant with thee? Will thou take him for a servant forever?" This is kind of cheesy. It reminds me of, again, people referring back to this might be a whale, but, I live right here in Florida, SeaWorld, you can put these whales in captivity, and you can basically train them to do what you want. It's kind of cool. I agree there's definitely some cruelty there, but to me, I don't think it could be a whale, because you can have people teach these whales basically what to do. They can run to the side of the pool. The whale goes through and follows them, do all kinds of tricks. I was thinking about here with a crocodile. You could kind of have some say what to do with the crocodile. You have the guy here, probably luring it with some kind of meat or bait, and then, the crocodile kind of chases after him. And in this case, you can see that the guy isn't afraid of the alligator, and you'll see as we move forward, a Leviathan is definitely a much feared creature. "Wilt thou play with him as with a bird, or wilt thou bind him for thy maidens?" In other words, can you keep him as a pet? And shall the companions make a banquet of him? Shall they part him among the merchants? So can you catch this thing, chop it up, and sell it for food? This is saying, no, you can't. Here's Steve Irwin. He was the crocodile guy back in the day. You can see very easily, just with a rope, a couple of guys can jump on top of this alligator and put him in captivity, or what he wanted to do. "Canst thou fill his skin with barbed irons, or his head with fish spears? Lay thine hand upon him, remember the battle, do no more. Behold, the hope of him is in vain. Shall not one be cast down even at the sight of him? None is so fierce that dare stir him up. Who then is able to stand before me?" If no man is able to stand before Leviathan, how are you going to measure up against God? Leviathan can't be restrained, and in here, God is clearly showing his omnipotence to Job. Who hath prevented me that I should repay him? Whatsoever is under the whole heaven is mine. I will not conceal his parts, nor his power, nor his comely proportion. What I thought was interesting is the comely proportion. You can see that to this day. A lot of animals, you'll see them from a distance. They're just kind of calm. And then every once in a while, if you have like a bear or something, he'll put his eyes on you and then he can come after you. So for the most part, you can have some pretty fierce creatures in the animal kingdom. And when you're looking at them just kind of far off, they just seem kind of gentle until you get close to them. This is just a cool little thing I threw in here. If you back up, it says, whatever is under the whole heaven is mine. And this comes from Isaiah 66:1. Heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. Heaven is my home, and the earth is my footstool. What is the house that you would build for me? And what is the place of my rest? So just a cool little scripture in there you can read. Who can discover the face of his garment? Or who can come to bind him with his double bridle? Go forward here, a double bridle, it's used as an instrument. You can control an animal. So you can do this horses, a few other kind of animals. Clearly, you can't control this thing. Who can open the doors of its faith? His teeth are terrible round about. His scales are his pride, shut up together as with a close seal. One is so near to another that no air can come between them. That was kind of interesting. Whales have smooth skin. They don't have scales. I don't know if this picture comes in very well, but alligators have scales, but they aren't fused together. The scripture says that these scales are completely together, no air can get through, and they're completely fused. If you look at, say, an alligator or a crocodile, the scales are kind of separated, and I guess if someone wanted to come in and take care of this creature, you could definitely get some type of weapon in between the scales. It says they are joined one to another, they stick together, that they cannot be sundered. Sundered just means it can't be split apart. And this is where it gets really interesting. This is really just the icing on the cake. It says, by his neesings a light doth shine, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning. And neesings is just an old English for sneezing. So this creature, even just by sneezing, fire comes out of its nose, which is pretty cool. Out of its mouth go burning lamps, and sparks of fire leap out. Out of his nostrils goeth smoke, as out of a seething pot or cauldron. I don't know of any other animal in the animal kingdom that does this. Again, this goes back, is this an alligator, a whale? I've never seen these creatures do this, unless it was some kind of old creature we don't know about from a long time ago. His breath kindleth coals, and a flame goeth out of his mouth. And his neck remaineth strength, and sorrow is turned into joy for him. So this creature loves to attack and be mean. That's what this thing is. It's prideful for him. The flakes of his flesh are joined together. They are firm in themselves. They cannot be moved. His heart is as firm as a stone, yea, as hard as a piece of nether millstone. When he raiseth up himself, the mighty are afraid. By reason of breaking, they purify themselves. The sword of him that layeth at him cannot hold. The spear, the dart, nor the habergeon. And a habergeon is just basically a coat of mail or armor to defend the neck and breastplate. So I just think about this, some guys come up to this thing and they've got their swords and spears, they've got their armor on, and this thing's just going to laugh at them. You don't need this to go after an alligator. You have the crocodile hunter, you can turn on Discovery Channel, you can see guys in just plain clothes, they can jump on top of these things, they can catch it with a rope, very easy. He esteemeth iron as straw, and brass as rotten wood. I thought this was really interesting. So you can attack this thing with iron or brass, and it's not going to do anything to this creature. The arrow cannot make him flee. Sling stones are turned with him into stubble. So I live in Florida, so my parents used to have a boat, and as soon as you get close to an alligator, even just with a boat, or you throw a rock, the thing's going to flee every single time. This creature doesn't fear iron, brass, or sling stones. So again, this just makes me think, if I throw something next to, say, an alligator or a whale or big creature that we know now, am I going to be able to startle it? The answer is yes. Darts are counted as stubble. He laugheth at the shaking of a spear. Sharp stones are under him. He spreadeth sharp pointed things upon the mire. So it seems like in his belly there's some type of sharp object. Maybe it's spines, some type of his armor. And it says, his spreadeth sharp pointed on things. So he can also just lay on top of rocks. Again, I'm in Florida, in New Smyrna Beach. So you have basically this walkway of rocks that go out. They're called the jetties. If you go out there, you have to have shoes on or else your feet are going to get cut up. So this thing has no problem just laying down on sharp objects. He maketh the deep, this is where it gets really interesting. He maketh the deep to boil like a pot. He maketh the sea like a pot of ointment. So maybe this is some type of oil. If it breathes fire, it's going to have some type of oil or ointment that's going to streak behind it. He maketh a path to shine after him. One would think the deep to be hoary. Hoary is just another word for moldy. So this thing had some kind of odd smell to it as well. Upon earth there is not his like, who is made without fear. He beholdeth all high things. He is king over all the children of pride. So if you're a prideful person, go ahead and go after this thing. It's going to put you in your place. And I think too that we know from the fossil record that dinosaurs exist. You have the T-Rex, the Brontosaurus. You have all these creatures that you know existed before. And if you kind of put yourself in God's eyes, he's kind of, I don't want to use the word gloat, but he holds this creature at a very high standard. And we're to marvel at all of God's creation. And I just think an alligator or a whale, there's creatures bigger than this. We know that just by looking at the fossils and things that were buried a long time ago. So that's just something to think about as well. And there is a creature I thought was interesting. It's called the bombardier beetle. Has an infamous ability to synthesize and release rapid bursts of stinky, burning hot liquid from the rear end of them. So it basically has this chemical reaction and it creates a spark. So this already exists in the animal kingdom, just obviously on a smaller scale. I don't know if there's anything else like this. Let me know in the comments below if you think there is, or maybe I can look into it. So just key takeaways. When you look at the fossil record, we can clearly see there's larger animals. I think there's larger and more terrifying creatures that existed in the past. And another takeaway, alligators, they can be caught very easily. They can be put in captivity. Same with whales. So that's why I think this just can't be an alligator or whale. I think it's just some creature a long time ago. Maybe we have fossils of it, maybe we don't, but I could be totally wrong. If you think this is definitely alligator or a whale or some other creature living today, let me know in the comments below. If I'm wrong, we'll redo the lesson. But I think this is definitely pointing to some dinosaur or creature. A lot of people would agree with it, and there's also some that don't. So I guess what is the point of this lesson is to show Job's weakness and reflect on God's almighty power. God is omnipotent. He's all powerful. Job is one of my favorite books. Whenever you're going through some type of trial or tribulation, this is always a great book. He went through some really tough things. God spoke to him and he got him out at the end. The book of Job is definitely a great place to start. So thanks for tuning in. That's all I have. If you have any questions, put them below and I'll see if I can answer them. Thanks.